Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, it's been Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things ready through a common sense lens. And so obviously we know that there's a lot of work going on right now behind the scenes on the next James Bond movie out there, right? We know Amazon has secured the entire complete and total rights for all of that from Barbara Broccoli. They now have complete and total creative control. They fired Jennifer Salke out there, and it looks like we might have the potential to actually get a potentially good Bond out there, or at least a suitable one, boys and girls, and not such the bad hot garbage we've seen come out of a lot of Hollywood out there, and especially some of the stuff we've seen come out of Amazon Prime, aka MGM, boys and girls. So needless to say, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of speculation. A lot of people are being asked about this. A lot of people are being talked about it. And it's really fun out there to hear Hollywood legends come out there and give their opinions on stuff like this, especially when it's an opinion you don't normally expect and certainly doesn't seem to align with the typical talking point agenda-driven narratives that we see pushed by a lot of Hollywood actors and actresses out there. And ladies and gentlemen, Helen Mirren is an absolute legendary actress out there. And boys and girls, apparently she actually understands something that a lot of Hollywood producers and studios don't, because despite being a feminist, she knows exactly that James Bond has to be James Bond, undoubtedly, boys and girls. And we've also, over here from IGN, we've got a little bit of a rumor and speculation as to who might the next James Bond might be. And boys and girls, if this guy ends up getting cast, it might be a very first for the James Bond franchise. So we're going to share these articles. We're going to get all the juicy details of exactly what this feminist has said about who should play the next James Bond as far as their gender. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We just crossed 2,100. We're sailing our way towards 22. I think we're sitting at like 2,150, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Let me know what you think about this. Do you agree with Helen? What do you think of the rumored casting coming out of the Hollywood Reporter? Do you think it's going to be accurate? Is this an idea that you would like to see going forward? Do you completely and totally agree with Helen Mirren, or do you actually think a female James Bond could work? Let us know what you think in the comment section down below. And if you'd like to support the channel, please check the links in the description as well. All right, from the Hollywood Reporter and Lily Ford, boys and girls, Helen Mirren says, "I'm such a feminist, but you can't have a woman playing James Bond. It just doesn't work." And yes, ma'am, hallelujah, and amen to that, sister. There are just certain characters that historically work as a male, right? And a lot of the time when it's the history and the tradition of a character, I mean, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to make a film? One of the biggest things about James Bond, he's a womanizer. He's drinking. He's out there doing all this crazy stuff, getting all these massive fights, doing all this spy stuff, turning out the fights. It just wouldn't be James Bond anymore if you used a female, unless you turned her into a lesbian or a hoe that slept with all of these people out there. I mean, literally, it's just not something that works. The British actress spoke alongside her at the Thursday Murder Club co-star Pierce Brosnan, famed for his stint as 007, who concurred, "I wish them well. I'm excited for the next man to come to the stage." Even Pierce Brosnan agrees. Oscar-winning actress Helen Mirren is weighing in on the James Bond debate, and she's made her stance clear. "I am such a feminist," the legendary Brit told Saga magazine in a new interview. Framed for his stint as Ian Fleming's iconic spy, Pierce Brosnan, obviously, "but you can't have a woman. It just doesn't work. James Bond has to be James Bond. Otherwise, it becomes something else." Yes, thank you, ma'am, for telling Hollywood straight to their face exactly what fans of James Bond, and honestly any male protagonist out there in any kind of IP, have been trying to tell them forever. A character is written because guess what? Certain male characteristics don't come off as believable with a female character, right? Or at best, they come off as extremely forced. This is why fans don't like this kind of stuff. I would argue that Starbuck is one of the few rare exceptions where an actress was actually able to pull that off properly and do a good job. Trust me, she is the exception, not the rule. How many other examples have you show out there how this doesn't work, boys and girls? And guess what? Helen understands that. And so does our former James Bond. And honestly, Pierce Brosnan was my first James Bond that I saw in a movie as a kid because I grew up in the 90s. So yeah, I kind of got a soft spot for the guy. Brosnan concurred with Mirren and added that the next actor take on the role. I wish them well. I'm so excited to see the next man come on the stage and to see where the whole new exuberance and life of this character. I adore the world of James Bond, and it's been very good to me. It's the gift that keeps giving. I mean, honestly, like if I was going to go see him at like a Phantom event, I know they're doing great with like their new Mobland show. Him and Hellen are co-starring in that. I've heard nothing but good things. Can't wait to get Paramount Plus next week so I can watch that. But like, that's the other thing about there. I love that. I like if he was at a fan event, this is what I'd be going up and having him sign something from 007 because that's what I know him the best from. Obviously, he was incredible as Dr. Fate in Black Adam, despite all the issues with that movie. Pierce Brosnan just absolutely crushes it. He's a legendary actor in his own right. And so you've literally got two legendary actors of Hollywood. I mean, you could argue that they are literally like, I mean, A-list. You could argue they are some of the royalty of Hollywood. And even with all of that, they've still got enough common sense to understand that James Bond has to be a man. It says it's been very good to me. It's the gift that keeps giving. And I'm just a member of the audience now, sitting back saying, show us what you're going to do. And honestly, I think that's what all of the fans are talking about, right? That's what all of the fans have been waiting for. That's what people want to see. That's all anybody absolutely is actually asking for, that kind of situation. Obviously, we talked about Amazon, MGM Studios. It gears up first 007 movie. Now that Barbara Breikley and Mark Wilson are out for the $1 billion deal. Dennis Villeneuve's now children, all that kind of stuff. And it's one of them situations too as well. Halle Berry said the exact same thing. She says, it's nice to say, she should be a woman. But she added, I don't really think that's the right thing to do, talking about James Bond. And now on to the next part of this. Who could the new James Bond be? Well, according to the Hollywood Reporter, a well-placed source close to production, which we know Amazon, MGM, they kind of leak like a sieve, boys and girls. They're not as bad as Warner Brothers, but we know a lot of things beforehand about how they're coming over at Amazon, MGM. They're just not as good as some of these other companies about keeping everybody shut up. Maybe they don't pay them enough. I don't know. Was brought up. So, according to the Hollywood Reporter, a well-placed source close to production, Rose Marsh, was brought in sometime in late June to read the sides from 1995's GoldenEye, presumably for just hired director Denis Villeneuve. He also might have tackled pages from the script Peaky Blinders creator Stephen Knight is said to be whipping up for Bond 26. And remember, this is coming from the Hollywood Reporter. This isn't some random Twitter account. They don't generally publish things unless they're pretty sure it's accurate. Whatever the material, Rambling Source claims Rose Marsh was given just one piece of direction before the test cameras rolled. Don't impersonate a previous Bond, which makes sense, right? And makes this whole statement, this whole leak a little bit more believable, because that's not what you're going to want. You don't want to see him trying to be somebody else's Bond. It's just not going to work. And despite all of our lovely hoping for a Henry Cavill fan casting out there, and despite all of his ties with Amazon MGM right now, I think they're going to go for somebody younger. And honestly, Henry Cavill's kind of expensive, and Amazon doesn't exactly have a whole lot of money right now. I mean, they did literally lose $1 billion on Rings of Power. Rose Marsh, 37, has appeared in the films Wolves of War and Craze, Code of Silence, and the TV series Chloe, The Outlaws, and Your Amadea. He's a graduate of Brit School of Performing Arts and Technology. So there you go. There's that on top of that. He's traditionally trained out there, boys and girls. So I like that. And honestly, he just seems to be mostly a television actor. And I really do think James Bond, I like the idea of doing them kind of a little bit of an unknown actor. Obviously, you could argue that Pierce Brosnan and Sean Connery probably weren't all that unknown actors at the time they were cast. But needless to say, it's one of those things. I like the idea of that. I like a guy that's pretty much only done television, and a lot of people aren't going to know out there. So this could end up being a good casting. What makes Rose Marsh a distinctive choice for Bond is that he's a redhead, which would be the first for a big screen James Bond actor, just as Daniel Craig was the first blonde to play 007. Once again, as a Doctor Who fan, so sad. We'll see a ginger Bond before we see a ginger doctor? Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we literally got a woman and a black doctor before we got a ginger. What does these activists out there have against gingers? Another redhead, Dexter, Original Sin's Patrick Grissom, portrays Bond in the new video game 007 First Light, although it isn't part of the Bond film canon, but it may have influenced a few casting decisions. In recent years, the actor has undergone physical transformations, becoming leaner and more angular, changes that fans say align with him in the modern interpretation of Bond. Of course, just because Rose Marsh has on-screen tested for the role doesn't mean he will ultimately play James Bond. He could end up with a different role or not cast at all in the film. So obviously, that's all the Hollywood reporter was talking about on that one. just that he tried out for the film. So if he did a good job, maybe he'd end up getting the character. They're probably trying out for a lot of different people. They're trying out for a lot of different things out there. But as a fan who, obviously, I love my wife very much. And one of the things that attracted me was she was a redhead. And I love the idea of redheads getting more representation out there in Hollywood, whether it be a man or a woman, because we have seen a systematic issue with Hollywood over the past decade, if not arguably even longer, especially when it comes to comic books, of erasure of redheads. So I think it would be fun to see the first ginger James Bond. But Helen and Pierce Brosnan are absolutely right. James Bond has to be a man. It just doesn't work. Just like it didn't work to make the Doctor a woman, and it didn't work to make him gay, making James Bond a woman wouldn't work either. So I'm excited to see that they're obviously not going in that direction. If the rumor can be believed from The Hollywood Reporter, which I don't have any reason to doubt that it should be, then at least we know that that's what they're doing. They're not out there trying to hide. They're not trying to go down the direction that Jennifer Sulky and some of these other people wanted to go down and turn it into a female-centric nonsense. No, they're doing what you should do properly. And of course, interviewing, casting, letting them do their little thing, letting them do their audition out there for a James Bond. And you're hiring and looking at men, which is exactly what you need to do. As to whether or not MGM actually has the talent and the creative ability to give us a good quality James Bond, I don't know. But it's James Bond, boys and girls. It can't be rocket science. Have some beautiful women, have a funny villain, some great gadgets, and you know what? Have him drink plenty of martinis and get some lovely ladies in his bed. At the end of the day, it's not rocket science to make a lot of these movies, especially from established franchises that we have seen so many examples of before. So I am at least cautiously optimistic about the future of James Bond when it comes to Amazon MGM, and that's only because Jennifer Sulky has been fired. But at the end of the day, we'll have to find out whether there's actually any creative talent left. But yes, as everyone has said clearly in this article and clearly in this video, James Bond is a man and will not work anywhere else. And hey, don't believe me? Helen and even, of course, Pierce Brosnan himself say it to be true. So don't argue with me. They said it, and I think they're right. A big shout out to all of our subscribers and members out there. Thanks for watching, and make sure you guys like and subscribe if you have not already.